Hey, soul survivors, here are the predispositions, the predisposing factors for breast cancer. And tell me which ones you didn't know. There's a lot of interesting ones. So it's important to know about breast health. There are genetic factors. It deals with race, ethnicity, family history, lifestyle, hormone factors, and environmental exposures. But understanding these risk factors can help you assess what your risk may be, and kind of help guide with early detection. So, genetic and family history. This is only about 5 to 10% of the cases. The most well-known cancer that is related to genetic mutations is the BRCA1 and BRCA2, and that will dramatically increase your risk if you're predisposed to that. They do have tests for that. They're not too expensive. So if you have a family history with that, you definitely want to get checked. So 55 to 72% lifetime breast cancer risk if you have the BRCA1 mutation. If you have BRCA2, that mutation is 45 to 69% lifetime risk for getting breast cancer. So super important to get that checked out. But the BRCA mutations also increase ovarian cancer. So BRCA1 is 39 to 44% for ovarian cancer. BRCA2 is 11 to 17%. Now, the other less common genetic mutations that can increase your risk for breast cancer is the Li-Fraumeni syndrome, TP53. There's an extremely high lifetime cancer risk, including breast cancer, up to 90%. And CHEK2, CHEK2, doubles breast cancer risk. And there's different kinds like PALB2, PALB2, 33 to 58% lifetime risk, on and on. So who should get genetic testing? If you have multiple relatives that have or had breast or ovarian cancer, especially if under the age of 50 when they got diagnosed. Also, if you have a male relative that has breast cancer or had it. And Ashkenazi Jewish ancestry, 1 in 40 carry the BRCA mutation. So family history of breast cancer, first degree relatives such as your mother, your sister, your daughter, it can double your risk. And there's varying studies on this, but also 2 first degree relatives with breast cancer increases your risk 3 to 4 times, male or female. Having a father or brother with breast cancer, that increases it. Maternal and paternal family of history matter equally. So if it's your grandma on your mother's side, same weight as if it was your father's mother. So race and ethnicity. This is pretty interesting. Caucasian women have the highest overall risk of developing breast cancer, more likely to develop the estrogen receptive positive breast cancer, which responds well to treatment. And the lifetime risk is up to 13%, which is 1 in 8 women. Now, your Black African American women, they have a lower overall breast cancer rate than white women, but they are more likely to get diagnosed earlier under the age of 40, twice as likely to develop the triple negative breast cancer. That's what I believe my mom had. My mom's white, but that's an aggressive subtype with fewer treatment options. So if you're struggling with that, let me know. I got some inside information on that. Also, Black African American women have a 42% higher breast cancer death rate than white women due to later stage diagnosis and healthcare disparities. So you have to remember the Black and African American get it more often earlier, and they don't test until later. So there is some disparity on, unfortunately, the death rates. So if you are Black or African American, you might want to get checked earlier. Also, Asian, Hispanic, and Native American women, they have a lower incidence and mortality rate compared to Black and white women. More likely to have hormone-sensitive tumors. Japanese women had the lowest breast cancer rates globally, but the risk increases when they adopt Western diets and lifestyles. So this is something to take into account. I know the Japanese, they eat like lots of sushi and fish and just a lot more fresh vegetables and not as many preservatives or diet sucralose kind of things. So when they adopt the Western diet and also the lifestyle, such as smoking or cigarettes or partying, different things. But the Ashkenazi Jewish women, 1 in 40, like I said, carries a BRCA mutation compared to 1 in 400. So they are 100 times more likely. Also, increased risk of early onset breast and ovarian cancer. Hormonal and reproductive risk factors, early menstruation, and late menopause. So if you start your period before the age of 12, you have a higher lifetime estrogen exposure, causing an increased risk. Also, menopause after age 55, you had that prolonged exposure that also increases. So if you started early or you finish late, it's just that extra time of that estrogen that can increase susceptibility. Pregnancy and breastfeeding. If you have had no full-term pregnancies or your first pregnancy was after age 30, you have a higher risk. So that includes miscarriages too, as no full-term pregnancy. So breastfeeding for at least 1 year, it'll lower your risk, especially for the triple negative breast cancer. It's also great weight loss for breastfeeding. Just kind of works out. Hormone replacement therapy, known as HRT, combined estrogen, progesterone, HRT used for menopause symptoms. Be careful with that because that can increase a breast cancer risk after 5 years of use. Estrogen only, HRT, hormone replacement therapy. This is used for women who have had a hysterectomy. Slightly less risk, but it's still an increased risk. Oral contraceptives, birth control pills, slightly increased risk while taking the pill, but the risk returns to normal after stopping for 10 or more years. Newer low-dose pills may have lower risk. I know I'm 54, when I was growing up, they used higher doses, but somewhere around when I don't know, I want to say when I was like 22 to 26, somewhere in there, they started using more lower estrogen to kind of help cut down on this risk. But when we're talking about lifestyle and environmental factors, obesity and high BMI, that's like your fat ratio, postmenopausal obesity is a major risk factor because fat cells produce estrogen. I'll say that again. Fat cells produce estrogen. What's interesting about fat cells is you have your fat cells now. So they can plump up, but you can create more fat cells, but you don't get rid of them. So the people that lose weight, they will kind of flatten back out. So the more weight that you've gotten over time, the more fat cells you get. So they kind of just stack, flattened. So there's a 30 to 60% increased risk in obese women. And also alcohol consumption, even moderate drinking, which is considered 3 to 4 drinks a week, that will raise your risk. Women who drink more than 2 alcoholic beverages daily have a 50% higher risk than non-drinkers. 2 drinks a day, 50% higher risk. Smoking increases risk, especially in premenopausal women. Stronger link in long-term smokers. So if you smoked for over 10 years, there's a stronger predisposition now. Sedentary lifestyles. If you like to sit around and not exercise, be careful. Regular exercise will lower your risk because it reduces estrogen levels. Women who exercise 4 or more hours a week, they actually have a 10 to 20% lower risk. High-fat diets and processed foods. I know that fried chicken is good, but be careful because diets high in saturated fats and processed food, there goes your risk, raises it. Mediterranean diet. So that will lower your risk. My sister loves that. I've tried Mediterranean food because of my sister, but that is rich in olive oil. The types of oils you use make a difference. They also, I don't like fish, but the Mediterranean diet has a lot of fish in it. Vegetables is just a different way of cooking, a healthier lifestyle. exposure to radiation and environmental toxins. So radiation therapy to the chest, if you had something like Hodgkin's lymphoma and you had radiation therapy in the chest area, this will increase your lifetime risk of breast cancer. So if you've had one or two x-rays, that's not really going to increase it unless you're having consistent radiation to that area. Endocrine disruptors, the BPA, parabens, and phthalates, they might mimic estrogen and increase the risk, but the research on that is ongoing. So let's talk about some unique and rare predispositions that a lot of people don't know about. According to this research, 1 in 833 men will develop breast cancer. And the BRCA2 mutation carries a 7% lifetime risk for men. And it's often diagnosed late. And because of that, it leads to worse outcomes. So if you're male, if you have any of the warning signs, I just posted, type in warning signs. And I have a video on the different warning signs. So like nipple discharge, that can happen for men as well. Swelling, sores, it happens to men as well. So even those predominantly women, guys, go ahead and check that video out. Or leave a comment and I'll find it and post it for you. I'll respond with it. Dense breast tissue increases your risk 4 to 6 times. I have extremely dense, they have like heterogeneously dense, and what they consider normal breast tissue. Also, as you gain weight, it mildly affects it, but not so much. So I'm a thin person. If I gain 200 pounds, my breast tissue would still be dense, but I'd have like fat around the breast tissue. So it's the breast, like the mammary glands and the ducts and all that. So mammograms are less effective when you have breast tissue that is dense. You might need additional imaging, such as an MRI or an ultrasound. I get those. Night shift work. This is interesting. Long-term night shift workers have a 30 to 50% increase, possibly due to a disruption of melatonin production, and that regulates estrogen. So I'll do some more research on that. I am a night owl. My mom was a night shift worker, but if you do that long-term, right now it's 11:49 p.m. and I'm doing a video for you guys. 30 to 50% increased risk. That melatonin production is important, helps us sleep. And during our sleep, our bodies repair. So height, if you are 5'8" or taller, you have a 10 to 20% higher risk. And this could be due possibly to growth hormone factors. I wish I did this before I started recording. I'm Dutch. We're the tallest people in the world. I'm 6'1". And I think, if I remember correctly, that is one of the highest countries too that have breast cancer. So let me know how tall you guys are. But yeah, height, 5'8" or taller. And we have to remember you can have up to a 70% increase if you have the BRCA1 or BRCA2, 45 to 72%. So think about genetic testing. And in conclusion, also, if you have 1 or 2 first-degree family members, Black women under 40, please get checked out. Higher rates of aggressive breast cancer. And we talked about when you started your period or menopause, hormone replacement therapy, drinking, history of chest radiation. So we can't change the risk factors other than the lifestyle changes. So it's important, once you know this information, have those regular screenings and mammograms. If you guys know of any free clinics in your area, sometimes you can get a mammogram for free, or check out the health department, or if you have health insurance. Maintain a healthy weight and exercise, limit alcohol, quit smoking, breastfeed if possible. It can be a great bonding time with your children. Avoid prolonged hormone therapy unless absolutely necessary. And also do your own research, consult with a doctor. But I thought this would be helpful for you to know some of the predispositions. And let me know some of your comments or questions. We're here to support each other. We'll get through this one day at a time.